One of the worst things that have probably ever happened to men besides having to go to the war to fight and die for the world's elites is marriage. And I say that to highlight how women have single-handedly destroyed the lives of millions of men and families worldwide in the name of not being happy or for their own selfish gain. Surely men have a role to play in all this, but from my perspective, when you have a collective group that chooses to do the exact same thing, it can't be just a mere coincidence anymore. Think about it, how is it possible that in so many countries around the world that allow no-fault divorce, women choose to file for divorce more than the man every time? Can this all be a coincidence? I think not. I can't just put all the blame on women though, because I know that many men make dumb decisions and marry women they should have had no business marrying just because of how beautiful she looks or just to have their own in-house peace leave. So he decides to avoid all the raging red flags, turning his life upside down in the process. That I understand, and men need to stop committing to known 304s, because if you make a dumb decision like that thinking you can change the woman, then you are digging your own grave at that particular point. So I have to call out the men who purposefully made a dumb decision and face the consequence of their actions. I know you guys know at least one man you saw with a woman you knew was for the streets, and you were wondering in the back of your head why the hell would he choose to marry her. I'm talking about that guy. However, it cannot be possible that most men make this same mistake around the world, so now you have to go back to the ladies and put the blame on them because they are the ones choosing to end their marriages as the majority, so something just isn't right. So let's shed some light on the failed institution of marriage and monogamy and how this has single-handedly ruined the lives of millions, if not billions of men around the world. To understand why marriage was a failed concept, we first have to look at monogamy and see if the problem stems from there. I did a video on the channel that went deep into monogamy. I explained why the elites and churches introduced this concept to control society and make money, so I will not be going over that again. However, we don't need a magnifying glass to see that human beings are not monogamous at all. Men and women cheat, which will never change probably throughout the history of Homo sapiens, so that is something you'll have to accept. Most women will find some way to cheat, and only a small minority won't cheat under any circumstance. So what does that tell us? Well, we are only as loyal to our partner as our options. This means the number of options a person has is how faithful to their partner they will be. And looking at how many options women and the top 10% of men have nowadays, no wonder they never just keep one partner. Why would they when people are throwing themselves at them? Now, look at the other men and women who don't have that option, and you'll see that their pool of available mates is very small, if not non-existent, like what we see with incels, male virgins, and very ugly women. So when those people do find a mate, they will not be able to cheat or move on and date another person very quickly, so they have to be monogamous and only stay with one person. Do you understand what I'm saying? And shout out to Coach Greg Adams for breaking this down very simply. And don't confuse monogamy with sexual exclusivity. They are not the same. I purposefully use the word monogamy, but people practice sexual exclusivity where they temporarily stay faithful and have bedroom fun with one partner at a time. In comparison, monogamy means one partner for life. We know humans don't just have one partner for life. We practice polyamory, where we'll have multiple sexual relationships and multiple partners. My point is monogamy doesn't work because we are naturally not monogamous when given the option. We openly choose to date multiple people and cheat on our partners as long as we have the opportunity to do so. And this is why marriage, which leans so heavily on being monogamous, ends up failing because most people cannot turn that switch off not to want to have bedroom fun with multiple people. And if you disagree, you'll have to explain why so many married people end up cheating on their spouses. In the case of the woman, it is usually because she's not happy or she wasn't getting one of her needs met, so she went back out to test her options and see if there's anything better available. Now, if you cannot connect the dots of monogamy being an absolute failure, even though if you look outside, you'll see proof, then it's time for the paper test. Get a piece of paper and write down the number of all the people you've ever been in relationships or fornicated with and write it down. Then write down the current number of partners you're with and compare the two. Most people will have either 0 or 1 partner they're currently with. Does that look like monogamy was a success when you had to go through so many partners just to be alone or have one? My point exactly, it was a huge waste of time for most people, including myself. Now that we covered how monogamy has failed most people worldwide, let's look at how marriage has failed men and destroyed their lives. Let's look at America and base our argument on their marriage and divorce statistics. Approximately half or a little over half of the American population are currently single. And there is a growing trend of fewer and fewer people choosing to get married. In contrast, married people seem to can't wait to get divorced. Of those people who can't wait to get divorced, most women choose to file for divorce and blow up their marriages far more than men. And this all started when the government gave women the option, and the key word here is options, to easily divorce their husbands by introducing no-fault divorce, which allows them to leave their marriage without being held accountable. Before, women or men would have to prove with evidence why the marriage was to be dismantled. However, with a no-fault divorce, all they had to say was irreconcilable differences. Just like that, the man's world would be turned upside down. If you know how the court system in America works, it actually incentivizes the breakup of the family and caters to women because that's how they make their money at the end of the day. They don't care about keeping the family together. Why would they when it's a billion-dollar industry? Their model is to cater to the woman so they can extract as much money away from the man, send their kids to universities, and buy mansions in the hills to live that lavish lifestyle. They know that most women aren't worth much economically, so they punish the man without caring if he even has a place to sleep. So what this does is it lets women know that if I'm not happy in my marriage or the financial situation is not to my liking, I can just go divorce my husband, win cash and prizes, and move on to somebody else. So as a result, that's precisely what they do. They purposefully choose to be selfish and blow up their family to get more money out of the man without having to be in his life, even going as far as to use the kids as pawns to get what they want. And again, since the court caters to women, the more custody the woman has, the more money the courts and the woman will get, so they give her more custody to make even more money. In the process, eliminating the father from the kids' lives half or more of the time. Isn't that criminal? We haven't even touched spousal support, and already the men are screwed financially. So looking at marriage as a whole, it seems to be a one-sided contract that only favors women and not men. Most men don't file for divorce because they don't want to lose their kids, and they don't want to lose half or more of what they worked so hard for. So they stay in marriages even if they are unhappy. But the women who don't lose much in most cases don't have that risk, so they would rather see you living on the streets with nothing once they can extract as much money from you as humanly possible. With that said, does that look like a successful institution to you? So many men have been brought to the cleaners and had their kids stripped away from them, and all of what they worked hard for, just because of a woman, an ungrateful and selfish woman. The number one cause of a divorce is usually related to money, so looking at the vows, it didn't even mean-ish. What happened for richer and for poorer? So the moment the man cannot provide as much as he was able to, or he made some bad investments or bad decisions and his money became funny, she decides that I'm done. Meaning that the marriage was based on the condition that the man gave her everything she wanted or else she would not stay with that man. And even when men give their wives what they want, they'll still find a way to divorce and blow up the family for their selfish reasons. I personally think that only a fool would get married at this point when women openly punish men for committing to them. There are still some things that happen in marriages that give the woman a legit reason to want to leave, and for those cases I understand. However, in most cases, the man did nothing to deserve getting divorced. Great to kingdom come, but they don't care, and they never will. As long as she can benefit from divorce, women will file for divorce. They don't care if you become homeless. They don't care if you're not a part of the children's lives. They don't care if you never recover financially, and they don't care if you die in the process. Some even hope and pray that you die or they'll try to delete you. So if you still think that the marriage institution is successful, the worst part is that the one thing men enter the marriage for is often withheld from them or given away for free to somebody else while the husband pays for it. Linking back to the failure of monogamy, women seem to cannot honor the commitment even though they sell you on monogamy so they can get the wedding. But when it comes to honoring the married vows, they seem to don't care in the slightest. Married women have no problem cheating on their husbands and giving them a kid from another man. And they do this knowing that as long as they get their husband to sign on the birth certificate, they will still win in the end, and they don't care. They don't care if you spend your entire life supporting another man's kid under the impression that the kid is yours. And you know what the worst part is? Marriage was created to ensure that the child conceived in the marriage belongs to the husband, and not even that you can depend on women to do. Do you still not see how marriage has failed men? Sexless marriage is very common, and it's sad that men still have to go out and provide, and they still can't get to have bedroom fun with their wives at the end of the long, stressful day. Sex is the one thing that made most men decide to marry, and women are so selfish that they refuse to lie on their back for 15 minutes and allow the man to decompress. She would rather go outside the marriage and give another man her sweet, watery guts than the man at home who's sacrificing himself to provide a roof over her head, food on the table, and protection. This is how disgusting they are, and more men need to understand the raw deal they are getting. And if the man dares not pay the bills and provide, he'll be divorced, which is the reality of most men's marriages in the United States. Now, let's set our sights worldwide and see if only the West has these problems. Many men believe that only the women in the West behave this poorly, and globally most women are not like this. All right, I cannot accurately prove that most women worldwide are like the women in the West, but I can say that depending on the country you look at, some if not all of what the woman in America does to screw over her husband is done in the rest of the world. Whether it's cheating, a sexless marriage, divorcing the man for money, and so on. Women will use what is available to them to screw over men and get what they want in every corner of the world. Let me tell you this, and feel free to disagree, but most women on the face of planet Earth are not good women. And to prove this, even the Bible says that a good woman is hard to find, so the majority cannot be good by that logic. There are some that you can work with and others that are flat out 304s. But to think that most women in the human population are good women is false, and this is not hating on women. That's just a fact. As I said, there are some women that you can work with to an extent and others that belong to the streets. And then there is a small minority of good women most men will never get. Knowing that, why would you, as a man, roll the dice on a woman that you can work with until it doesn't work anymore, or a 304? You would have to determine that for yourselves. My message is to live the free agent lifestyle because marriage and monogamy are failures. Walking outside and seeing the number of people getting divorced should give you all the information you need to make a logical decision. I rest my case. Tap the thumbs up button and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you want to support the channel, links to our PayPal and Cash App are in the description box below. And remember, gents, people are as loyal as their options.